Oh my God, I love it when we get together and do these things. But I am more excited. Like Stacy said, we have three incredible men with us. And so we're going to start with Dr. Ray Charles. And Dr. Ray, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, there's a lot of people in here that might not know you. Let them know where you're from.
Yeah.
But what we really want to hear too is a snapshot into life, where it was, how you were prior to being introduced to the technology, because you kind of blew us away this past weekend with the most recent epiphany that you had, basically, from using this technology. But you've got other things to share as well. So you have the floor, sir.
Sure. Dr. Ray Charles, I consider home Chicago. That's where home is sort of where the heart is. But I was born in a very small island called Trinidad. And I am very proud of my heritage. So my house is in Maryland. My home is where my heart is in Chicago. But my birth certificate says Trinidad. So that's just a little bit about myself. My PhD is in biblical counseling, and my degrees are in chemical engineering. So as Dr. Stacy would say, I'm going to do a Dr. Stacyism right now, Laura. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not your doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. My PhD is in biblical counseling. That's just a little tidbit about myself.
I love that. I love that. So here you get introduced to this technology at a time in your life when you had some things going on.
Yeah.
What were these things?
Well, I had arthroscopic surgery for 17 years ago. I had arthroscopic surgery, and for 17 years, I've had acute pain. And so if I go and take a walk with my wife, I already know by the time I come back, I will be at an 8 or a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. That's the level of pain that I was in. Since I started using the patch in January of this year, Laura, I probably can think of one time in the last 6 months that I have been over a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. And not only has the distance have increased, tripled. I would walk like half a mile, Laura, and be at a 7 or 8. I average now 2.5 miles and at a 2.
Wow.
So I want to share not only physiological difference, but I also want to share psychological difference. But before I get to the psychological, I want to share one more physiological difference since I've started using the patch. Last May, which is definitely before pre-LifeWave, I found myself in the emergency room. Laura, I cannot describe the pain that I was in. It was way beyond a 10, way beyond a 10 on the scale of 1 to 10. My wife literally had to wheel me in on a wheelchair into the emergency room. I could not walk.
Now, was this overall pain or was it lower extremity pain?
This was in my gut. It turned out to be gallbladder related. And so after the discharge, it turned out to be not necessarily gallstone, but it was gallbladder related. And I've been advised to just go ahead and do the surgery. And but after speaking to several folks within LifeWave, I was convinced that I did not need to do the surgery. Well, 3 weeks ago, just 3 weeks ago, a year later, the similar pain came. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This time I was out of town. I'm not going to mention the town, but it's a town that I did not want to go to the hospital. I'm like, no, I do not want to go to this hospital. And it started around 9. And around midnight, I say, honey, I gotta go to the emergency room. But before you do, can you see if you can get me something at the gift shop at the hotel? Well, the gift shop was closed. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, let's go to Rite Aid. Rite Aid was closed. So all roads was leading to the emergency room. And I'm like, so now it's like 1 o'clock, 4 hours later. And then it's like I heard Dr. Stacy's voice. Where there is pain, there is inflammation. I was like, honey, pass me the ER. Pass me the ER. And I don't know where this thought came from. Well, I'm claiming it was the Holy Spirit, because it didn't come from my mind, because I'm not that smart. And I'm thinking, this pain, there gotta be some toxins here. Baby, pass me the glutathione. And literally within minutes, it went from like a 12, and I was sound asleep, to like a 3 or so. Wow. Now, this is 5 hours later. I'm talking 5 hours of intense pain, and the light bulb just went on to a patch. So am I a believer? Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the physiological. I don't know if we have time for me to share the psychological.
Yes, we have time. Yes, we have time. That's the beauty about tonight. We have time.
So the psychological, I'm still blown away by what happened this past weekend. We all know what happened this past weekend with the outage and the glitch. And I am at the airport, 4, 5, 6 hours delay. And people are just in a frenzy. Obscenities, people using foul language, people, the temper, emoting, people, high emotion. And I'm sitting in my chair, finding a book to read, as cool as a cucumber. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with this picture? What do I know that they don't know? And as it turned out, on my way back from Orlando, I was flying to Orlando, I said, let's test this again, because it's almost like there were a lot more folks on Sunday. Same frenzy. And I said, let's try this again. I pulled out my book. My flight was delayed twice. And then I heard, at a distance, I heard another flight to Atlanta is taking off. Now, this is not my flight. I said, let me go to that gate. No one, Laura, no one got up from their seat at my gate. And I got to the other gate, and they took me on. Here's the story. The story behind that is that these patches not only reduces stress, it increases mental acuity. I'm like, this is on the intercom. Am I the only one that heard this announcement? But I believe part of the reason that I was the only one that heard is because I was not in a stress mode. Last thing I'm going to say. I'm about to turn 60, so I'm up to my 6th month of patching. And for the last 6 months, Leah, the last 6 months, I have been a little frustrated. And this might be borderline TMI, but we are a community, so I'll just put it out there. I've been a little frustrated because I have not been getting up early for my quiet time, for my prayer as I normally would. And this last week, I've had 16-hour days in Atlanta. It was a major crisis that an organization that I serve on the board. Now, after 16-hour day, Dr. Stacy, I get up at 4 o'clock every day for prayer. And I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? And so my spiritual life, my mental life, my physical life is being impacted. This is not one-dimensional impact. This is 3-dimensional impact. And that is what excites me. It's not just the physiological, it's not just the psychological, but it's also the spiritual impact. And so with that, Laura, I want to pass this mic over to you because I'm just so excited. I think I shared with Leah this morning, I feel like my authentic self has returned. My authentic self didn't return because of the physical. It didn't return because of the physical and the psychological. It returned because all 3 were impacted over the last 6 months. So back at you, Laura.
Wow. There's just a whole lot of wow, but I dare ask you what you would have been like had you not been patching. I've got a little bit of a visual of that.
Yeah. Well, 16-hour days is not new. That's like norm. So I tend to pack my day. When it's like I have a few 15-minute breaks. I'm an executive coach, and so I pack my day with coaching sessions. And Laura, by the time 5 or 5:36 comes, I'm about to fall out.
So sitting in the airport at that state would have made you feel extremely frustrated, and you'd probably been amongst the others, right? Is that what you're saying?
I absolutely would have been among the others.
Yeah.
But now, not only that, from a psychological impact, physiologically, at 5:36, I'm saying, honey, come on, let's go take a walk. At 5:36, prior to the patches, I want to see my bed, or I want to see my couch.
Right.
So that is the before and after the patches.
Well, Dr. Ray, I love that you've incorporated this tonight, because I want everyone to know, be it guest or maybe remind people, that when you're bringing the body back in balance, it is all about mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
I just got chills. It's just, that's how this technology works. And you have edified that immensely. And we're grateful for you for being here and sharing that with everybody. I know you've touched many, and I know you will continue to do that. And we are grateful, sir. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. Yep.